Do you like movies and games also? This and so much more, they all know. Vice, Pyro, Lotus and friends, welcome to Corrective Consciousness.
Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 136, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I am your host, Vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And Dracologist. I'm back.
What?
So, normally on the format of Corrective is for us to really just have an isolated topic that we doesn't relate to the week, but we had so much happen this week, including a packed Nintendo Direct that we couldn't ignore, and there was so much to unpack there. So we really wanted to go on and talk about what happened this week other than that. So we will come back with our regular topics next week. But we wanted the opportunity to go over everything in a timely manner here, so we didn't fall far behind, because there's some pretty hefty topics outside of the Nintendo Direct this week. So first of all, we wanted to talk a bit about what's been happening with Metro. Lotus has been following this as well. So Metro Exodus is the third game in the Metro series, and we talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago, right?
Something like that, yeah, I believe, yeah.
On a reactive,
the
for
whole
2
thing
weeks.
was it was going to hit, it was coming out for Steam, and people had pre-ordered it, but then, oh wait, it was going to be exclusive to Epic Games Launcher for a year. It was going to be 1 year temporary exclusivity, and then it'll go back on Steam. But if you had pre-ordered the game on Steam, then those pre-orders would still be ordered, or would still be honored. Excuse me.
So when the game came out, it was like a day before the game was released. Is when this all happened. So you actually you could only buy the game before the game came out, not after, which is ridiculous on Steam. It handled very. It seemed like it was very quickly, and I think this was confirmed by a few things. One of them being the retail box of all the Metro games.
This is what I wanted to bring up. It's hilarious.
Yeah, you could take the reins on this one, please.
Sure? Okay, because I actually don't know anything.
I saw that one. Carry on.
Yeah, because we knew that this was very last minute, and it pulled the rug out from under a lot of people who got mad that you're taking away from the platform it was going to be on, and now it's on Steam. That pisses me off. But the thing I saw that blew my mind was someone on Twitter had posted, I knew it! And it was a picture of him holding the box, and where it says on the back of the box, you should have Windows 10 to launch this game. And it tells you, what you need to play the game.
Including the service.
Yeah, and it says the Epic Games Launcher on the back, but it's like a label. If you peel the label back, then you could see it says Steam under it, and it's like, you sons of bitches. It was ready to go for Steam when Epic made this deal.
I know a similar story. I don't know if you heard it. That Epic Store Axiom Verge was free on Epic Store, and everyone who bought it couldn't play it because it was missing a Steam related file.
Oh no, I did not know about that.
Yeah, so actually, what actually happened in that is that there was actually one of the files in the game itself referenced actual Steam, not the platform, and they had deleted every reference to Steam.
Oh, they Control F the word Steam and
exactly, and deleted them all. And it happened to delete, I believe, one of the songs has Steam in the title. And when the game tries to load the file, it falls apart.
I don't think this is the soundtrack, but there is an environmental sort of hazard that is just
okay, maybe that's it.
That reminds me, this was a plot point in I don't even remember the title, but it was a TV drama where somebody had censored out every instance of a word, but it was supposed to be they were censoring a guy's name, but the guy's name was a word. It was Ernest or something, and they were able to crack some case by this. Why would this word be censored? Unless that happened in real life, apparently, with Axiom
That's
Verge.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's really good. So yeah, it seems like they are doing everything they can very quickly in order to get one up on Steam and Valve here with this Epic's launcher, and they haven't been in talks for very long. So maybe they just got the okay from their parent company to give a lot of these games a lot of money in order to do this, because that's the only thing that they would make them do this.
Yeah, it's just it's just again the timing is just terrible.
I think I don't hate Epic because they used to be a good developer, but I don't think they are really cut out for this kind of publishing.
I think Epic is a pretty cool team. I think they make good games, and they're obviously one of the most popular.
With Fortnite and everything.
Yeah, they're obviously one of the most popular developers
is that now. I think they could handle this kind of publishing. What I think the big problem is, though, I mean, this is basically just, I'm going to say timing again, but the thing is, because of this incredibly last-minute timing, this doesn't really seem like, okay, Steam gets the first 2 games and I get the third for a while. Because this was so last-minute, this looks like, I mean, I doubt this was the intent, but it really looks like they're spitting in the face of Steam, and it looks like it's like, yeah, how do you like me now? And, I don't know if you want to pick a fight with someone that big.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird thing, and it's just coming out all at once. It's just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But
and again, you're pissing off Steam's entire user base, because it's you're not going to get it for a year.
Yes, the problem with the Metro thing is that they should have not removed it, delayed it 1 year for Steam. If you want, people saying that variety, store variety brings challenge, and challenge is good for the buyer base, because they always going to find a better sale on the other platform. But completely removing it from the one platform for this long time is not how to say it. It's not competition.
The best decision. Yeah.
It's not competition, because you just basically hamstringing someone.
Well, yeah, it was just like Rise of the Tomb Raider. It was an Xbox One exclusive for a while. I think that was also a year. And everyone was like, if you really wanted to play it on PlayStation, be like, fine, fuck you. I'm waiting a year then.
Yeah. That's the funny thing about exclusives like that. It's one thing if you didn't know what was going to happen,
that's the thing. It doesn't even look like it's exclusive. They're telling you it's a timed exclusive. So you're like, well, I'll wait then. All you're doing is really inconveniencing me, so now I hate your company even more. I didn't really hate him before, but now you're fucking with me.
Also,
yeah.
The developer opened its mouth and something stupid came out.
Yeah. I should say that the Epic Games is giving a really good deal to developers that do publish with them, though.
Yeah, so I've heard. Yeah.
So there is good reason for it, and I do want these companies, especially like the indie developers. The sequel to Super Meat Boy is going to be exclusive to the Epic Games Store. So I'm a big fan of Edward McMillan, so I want him to do well, of course. But so Steam takes 30% cut of all games sold, whereas Epic will only take 12%. And listen to this, they will only take 5%, a 5% cut for games developed in the Unreal Engine, because they're already customers of theirs for using it. So that's really sweet.
That makes me wonder that will they going to get swamped by asset flippers and sort of sham makers?
Well, it looks highly curated. If you take a look at the Epic Games Store, there's no junk on it. There's just what's on it. It only has a front page at this point. There aren't a ton of games on there. The first game to be released on there, was Shadow Complex.
That's right.
When they put it on PC, and that's a great game. I think it's free on there, or it was at least when.
Yeah, at least it was. Yeah, that's a Metroidvania that really nobody talks about. Probably
and it was one of the best.
It was so new and nobody had heard of it.
It's one of the best Metroidvanias before indie development really took that genre and ran with it.
Genre back. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Metroidvania in a time when there weren't a whole lot of them, and it's still one of the best. I still think that game is really, really
the
good.
whole concept of like you can't walk in the background, but shooting enemies in the background is just like a cool literal dimension of gameplay that it's cooler than you would expect it to be, just because you're not used to seeing it in a Metroidvania.
Also, having realistic weapons and directional shooting with thumbsticks was very refreshing for that genre.
That's true.
It's still not done very much. Most Metroidvanias have melee based combat, and it's still like that.
Or like fantastical or magical, like Ori,
Yes.
you're using like magic stuff, like fairy magic, and Super Metroid, you're like space lasers and stuff like that, or missiles.
Yeah,
But
and it's very
like, Shadow
deliberate. The
Complex,
shots
you
are
have,
very
like, just-
deliberate.
Yeah, but like in Shadow Complex, you have like like military pistols and machine guns and stuff.
like AK-47 like
Yeah,
weapons,
but in sort of realistic, it's very hard to make realistic things like when you have to, for example, reach a certain area, and like you have to use the double jump, and in realistic world there is no double jump.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, in this game, like in Shadow Complex, there was a reason why you had a double jump. You actually had like a literal booster on your armor that you had gotten.
Yeah,
so,
it's like Doom 2016's like thrust boots, like the jet boots or something.
Exactly. So there was a reason for why you could do everything. There wasn't much fantastical unless it was like something that was like
Contemporary sci-fi.
Yeah, it was a sci-fi kind of thing. Like the fast running thing was probably the most magical thing that went on. But that was a normal thing in Metroidvanias, is to have a fast run that can destroy objects. That's been around since Super Metroid.
Yeah, Super Metroid. Yeah.
So I mean, it's good to have competition. And for the most part, it doesn't inconvenience you too much. I mean, think about it this way: it's just another client that you have to download. It doesn't. At least you don't have to buy another piece of hardware, and you don't have to pay for it. So whatever.
I'm worried about for example, in Doom 16, but not the 16, like Doom Eternal, comes out, and they really foreboding that it's going to need Bethesda this.
Yeah, that is a thing.
Yes, and honestly, I don't want to have an extra software for just one game.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by that. Probably out of all the companies that don't have a client, Bethesda is the only one that I would say could still release one. I can't see anybody else. Like Rockstar doesn't come out with games nearly often enough for that to happen, and they still have a lot of console exclusives. Notably the Red Dead games.
Yeah, Red Dead 1 and I guess 2 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the Red Dead games are still console exclusive for whatever stupid reason. That's a weird thing they're doing.
Grand Theft Auto goes wherever it wants, but Red Dead, whoa, now hold on.
Somebody must be paying them something. I don't know who is paying them, but I don't think it's Microsoft that's paying them that money.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Xbox is Microsoft, so why not PC too?
Yeah, and Microsoft's stance on things now is to release it on PC and Xbox whenever they have an exclusive. Their exclusives are only exclusive to, basically not putting it on a Nintendo or Sony system, but they'll put it on PC, no problem. In fact, their big game Crackdown 3. Yeah, their big game Crackdown 3 is a PC game as well. Even Killer Instinct is on PC now.
Well, the big surprise for me was Sunset Overdrive. I just thought that would kind of just be left on the One, but nope. Like, the only thing I could think of that's exclusive to the One right now is Rare Replay.
Replay.
Was Recore ever made to PC?
Yes, it was.
It was. All right. Well.
Yeah. The DLC for Dead Rising 3. Yeah.
The super ultra Capcom goofy name DLC.
Correct. Yeah. And Sea of Thieves, and I think that's it.
I didn't realize that was Sea of Thieves.
There's still Crimson Dragon, but that was like one of the launch kind of games.
That was a little
Yeah,
bit
well,
janky.
speaking of launch though, even how do you say it? Rise, Reese, RYSE.
Rise,
Like I think that made
yeah.
it to PC as
Rise.
well.
Sure did. It was one of the
Oh.
first games too.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Make it to
Roman
PC.
Roman soldier play.
Yes, yes.
Nobody liked that game.
Yeah. D4 made it, of course.
Okay.
That was another big one.
Oh, Dark Dreams Don't Die.
Yeah, even the Shovel Knight DLC, Xbox DLC made it to the PC version.
Oh, I didn't realize.
The
that.
Battletoads.
What was that, the Battletoads thing?
Yeah, the Battletoads thing.
Okay. So
made it
that
to the
means...
PC version.
I'm curious
Okay.
about what platform was Horizon Zero Dawn was on?
PS4.
PS4. Yep.
Oh, well, we're not going to get that.
Yeah. I'm thinking
That's a Sony game through and through.
Yeah.
It's like God of War.
I do would have tried that game.
That game's amazing.
You never know, though. I mean, like, I know it's a different company, but Yakuza finally seems to be coming to PC.
Yeah, but like Horizon Zero Dawn was made, like Sony published it. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
That's an exclusive game through and through. It's kind of like God of War.
I don't understand that why can't they just like I want to buy your game. No.
Yeah.
It's better than it ever has been, though. I mean, think about it this way. It doesn't really matter what console you have now, because like almost all the versions are identical or nearly identical.
Yeah.
To the point where you need like massively introspective videos to compare the versions of the game.
Yeah, comparing the FPS and the resolution.
But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it's so the differences are so minute you wouldn't even notice unless somebody told you. So it's not like even last generation where you had like a vastly different version of Bayonetta 1, which wasn't all that different. I mean, when you came down to it.
Yeah, no, even then, like I only had a PS3. Like that was the only way I could play it because it wasn't on PC or Wii U. So like. It was just PS3 and 360, and I had the PS3 version. I played it. Gameplay was just fine. Like, yes, the loading screens were longer, but like, okay.
Well, when games were coming out for the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, you sometimes got entirely different games released at the same time with the same title.
Systems.
With the same title, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fighting games are completely different on both systems. On all three systems, all three systems are completely different.
Disney's Aladdin was completely different in Sega and Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
I think back then the content changed so much because each hardware had a different specs.
Exactly.
Well, that is true.
That's
Super
my
Nintendo
point.
Played with some like effects that the Genesis couldn't possibly do, but meanwhile the Genesis had like actual Disney animators making smooth as hell animation for like everything in the game.
Yeah. So I guess what my thought is here is that this is a good time to be a gamer, and there's only very minor barriers to owning certain things. A lot of things are going Switch exclusive, which I'm kind of reveling in, personally because I have one, but I could see where people are getting pissed off with that. Like a lot of independent developers are selling like 3 or 4 times the units on Switch compared to Steam, which used to be the opposite. Steam used to be killing every other version,
well, that's
in
because
terms of sales.
Nintendo had like weird hardware like the Wii or the Wii U, and it's like, I don't know if I want to put my games on this weird system.
They also weren't very friendly to third-party developers until recently.
Yeah.
That's actually the big difference. Is when the Switch came along,
of the motion controls and silly buggers.
Well, not only that, but it's just their attitude towards third-party publishing in general, and allowing people to publish for their.
Now that they realize that the indie games are like the treasure trove, they now just pitchforking everything.
They're making all their money. Every bit of their money off of third-party games right now. I mean, they have some really great banging one-player, first-party games, but they're making a ton of money off of indie games right now. So
and you know what cracks me up? This isn't an indie game, but I love that Travis Strikes Again is a third-party game where like the whole point is to pay homage to like indie games.
Yeah,
I wonder. Vice, does Invisigun Heroes is on Switch?
What is it? MVC?
Invisigun, like invisible gun.
Oh,
Invisigun.
Invisigun Heroes. Yeah. No, that game never made it. It should be on Switch though.
Hmm.
It should.
Because that's a absolute couch game.
Yeah, no, that one's a good one. It's very similar to like Bomberman or something like that, so it should be on there. There's a couple games kind of like that though.
Hmm.
But anyway, we should move on and talk about the other big things.
Yes.
So this is one that's pissed basically everybody off.
my
I don't
God,
think
yeah.
anybody is on the side of Blizzard, Activision Blizzard right now. They
Activision.
laid off 800 employees, but citing that they have record profits all at the same time. So
Like-
people
so
are
pretty
pissed
much
off
what
at them.
happened was investors weren't happy with an insanely good year. They wanted to see growth, so to set some margins differently.
That is impossible. Like, this is expecting a fast-going car to accelerate even further, but beyond its own speed. It's only
Yeah,
just
well, investors are greedy, soulless assholes in this particular case, and
Yep.
apparently so is Blizzard's CEO. Because like the example I've seen a bunch of people use is that when Nintendo got into some like money troubles, and again, Blizzard is not having that; it's having not good enough success, even though it's record breaking. But when Nintendo got into some money troubles, instead of firing half their fucking staff, Satoru Iwata, the CEO at the time, or the
Took
president
a
of the company, I should
huge
say,
pay cut.
yeah, he cut it. He cut his own salary in half. But
Huge
the thing
pay cut.
is, I've seen other people say, "Oh, whatever, cut it in half." He still has millions of dollars, and it's like, yeah, that's the point. Like Blizzard's CEO, I think made like 38 million that year. So if you
Isn't
cut it
it
in half
Activision?
to what?
Isn't it more like Activision? Because this is Blizzard doesn't really have.
It's Activision Blizzard, yeah.
Yeah. So like he cut his salary in half. So like, or no, he didn't. He made 38 million. If he had cut his salary in half, it would have been 19 million. But like, you would never notice the difference. You can't spend that amount of money casually, like in a year. There's no fucking way. 19 million in a year. But like,
So
no,
I
instead, he just
want to
takes
say
800
something here in terms of diminishing returns when you're rich. So a study came out saying that once you hit 80,000 U.S. American dollars per year, you have diminishing returns of making more money. So if you had a change from like 70 to 80,000, it would still be a pretty big difference for you. However, when you start making 80,000 and you start making 90,000, it doesn't make almost any difference. Because at some point you can buy whatever you want. So like it has diminishing returns. That 10,000 doesn't feel like 10,000 anymore. If you make 200,000 versus 300,000, there's not very much difference because your lifestyle doesn't change at all.
Yeah, so like $19 million versus 38, like you're still making more than most people will make in their lifetime. Go fuck yourself. Like, but
yeah.
no, instead he picks 800 people who like weren't doing anything wrong and fired them. And this goes back to like a very
it's in their
I don't know.
esports division, I might add. Their esports division is the biggest one that took the hit, and
Yeah, but
also
Because Blizzard
social
was-
media. Social media.
Yeah, but no, I just wanted to get into though. Now I'm losing my train of thought here. But oh no, that's right. This was going back into like the I don't maybe jaded is the right word for it, but like it's just really giving people a negative outlook on that or not a stereotype, but on that motto that America keeps pushing, like, or the capitalism in general, where it's like if you work hard, then you'll make more money in advance. And it's like, no, these people did that and they got fired through no fault of their own. Like, everything has been going great. Blizzard has achieved, again, record profits, but their CEO and investors are greedy pieces of human garbage. So like, nope, they're just kicked to the curb. That's it. So like, it's not the hard work really at all that allowed them to maintain their jobs until it didn't.
Yeah, it just reeks of being a finance major. I have studied a lot of like scandals before, and basically manipulating the balance sheets in order to say that they had like record profits or whatever. There was a company called Blue Diamond who makes almonds. They grow almonds and other nuts and stuff like that. You can find them in the grocery store, Lotus.
Just me.
Well, Dracologist lives in another part of the world,
I know.
so he wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be able
like,
to.
Lotus, you in particular might find this interesting.
Well, anyway, all of their products come from the state of California, so
Sure.
it's not. Anyway, what they did was they didn't pay their farmers until after the fiscal quarter ended.
Oh wow.
So it looked like they had made way more money than they had, and there was a huge scandal. So like when their earnings came out, like the stock soared because like people didn't expect it to, be. They didn't expect it to be that high.
Yeah.
So the stock worth went through the roof, and then they found out what had happened because at the next quarter this will show up,
Yeah.
And they had a huge scandal and it went way down because of it. So this just reeks of that to me.
But the thing is though, like people but regarding the people getting fired though, this just makes me think of various other companies when there's a scandal and like who gets punished, like low-level employees who did nothing wrong.
Always,
and,
it's always that way.
And when
it's always that way.
When companies go out of business, 90% of the people are just fucked, and the bosses just take like quote bonuses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like when Toys R Us and Sears are going out of business, and they could keep the company afloat longer and keep people, the low-level employees having their jobs, if they just didn't take their bonuses.
Yeah.
And they give each other these obscene bonuses, and all these people are like patting each other on the back up top, so they're all approving it to give each other bonuses. They don't care that they're like a company that big ceases to be their only their point of money making. There should be some kind of way to protect an institution that's so big that it affects thousands of people, as an entity. You know what I mean?
Well, I would
from
say
its own investors or from its own bosses.
Oh, from the investors.
Yeah.
No, because I was gonna say there should be some kind of rule where like bonuses are given when people did well.
Yeah.
Like pay your fucking employees.
Exactly. And
by the way, regarding this though, I did see an amusing little bit of sass. I think it was from PC Gamer, the online publication. They had released an article where the headline said something like, Ubisoft reports like a strong financial year, does not fire 800 employees. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
Honestly,
I saw that.
I thought it was an Onion article at first. I was like, oh, nice. And it was like real. I was like, oh, damn. Quick, deep cut.
If I may, I wanted to say that I very early on seen the cracks, the little hairline fractures in Blizzard, with basically never making a new game. Like their freshest games was StarCraft 2 and Hearthstone, and maybe Heroes of the Storm, but that was...
Well, yeah, but that's not the issue. Their year is extremely... Like, they did extremely well this year. Like, the fact that they didn't release a new game might make some people wish they did, but they've been doing great, and they fired 800 people.
I think... Well, was Battlefield Activision?
Oh, jeez. Maybe...
Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefield is EA.
No, Battlefield 5.
No, that's Battlefront.
Battlefront. But yeah, Battlefield is still EA.
Oh, no, Activision is Call of Duty, I think, isn't it?
Correct.
Huh.
Yes,
Well,
they are Call of Duty.
That problem was that they kind of thrown out a Call of Duty game with no single player.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Blizzard and the whole thing about Blizzard that they already making multiplayer only games.
Yeah, but again, even so though, they've had a great year. Like, that's kind of not the point. They just fired people when they really really didn't have to, when their boss was just a greedy piece of shit.
I think when I heard that there was a big layoff first, I was really starting to try to call out the others, especially when the founder of Blizzard left the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to say to the rest of the development team, take your severance pay and flee, literally flee, because this thing is going to crumble down around your head. And just found your own little mini development team, because you guys have been basically doing well as a development group. I hope you can find some sort of new place to work.
Well, if you want the original Blizzard team to start over with a small company, you think they can make Rock and Roll Racers too?
Oh yeah.
and continue to plagiarize music?
I wanted to say that, just a little joke, that since the founder has left, everyone was joking. One of the joke was made that he's going to found a new the development team called Firestorm.
Oh, I was gonna do the opposite. I was gonna make the joke that if Blizzard is too afraid to stay, then they have cold feet.
No, well, Blizzard, Firestorm.
I know.
Okay.
But,
yeah. Anyway,
So,
this is kind of sad.
This is fucked.
Vice, you haven't made a stupid Blizzard pun yet, so we're not moving on with this podcast until you do.
I will meet you at the Dairy Queen.
Don't flake on us.
Snowflake, that I will meet you at the Dairy Queen, and we could talk about Blizzards there. But anyway,
there we go.
Can we go that the Activision head is a BL lizard?
Hey.
Anyway,
Visual
we should move on here.
Yep.
So there, was there something going on with SNK that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, this is really brief. So in an earlier podcast, I had mentioned that Limited Run Games had teamed up with Naughty Dog for like a Jak and Daxter Super Collector's Edition release, and they're gonna do Jak and Daxter 1, 2, 3, and I think it was Jak X. I think they were doing 4 games, not Lost Frontier. But like the point was, if you're interested in that game, then good for you. But the point was, it's cool that they teamed up with an entity as big as Naughty Dog. So it's happening again. Limited Run Games has teamed up with SNK, and they're releasing King of Fighters 97. And I know a lot of people like that game, that particular King of Fighters. But again, the point is, they teamed up with an entity as big as SNK. So there may be room for more SNK stuff in the future, and there probably will be, because they're releasing, like, the collector's edition of the game is coming in one of those big Neo Geo shock boxes, which is kind of cute.
Oh, neat.
But apparently
I didn't see this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking, and apparently it's like numbered, implying this won't be the only Neo Geo like SNK thing they do. So I have no idea what other stuff they're gonna do. People have their guesses. Like, a lot of people are saying, "Oh man, do Metal Slug or something like that." So who knows? But the point is that they teamed up with SNK, and that's cool. As far as SNK games that go with physical releases, I don't know. Like, I'm only really probably interested in like the weird stuff that isn't already available everywhere, like Last Blade 2, or like this would actually be a big deal for me, Samurai Showdown 5 Special, because the Samurai Showdown anthology has been released, and even physically, on PS2 and Wii, and it has Samurai Showdown 1 through 6, but 5 was the censored for home console version. Special, I think, had some extra stuff going on, and that never made it out. So, like, it would be cool if they could do that.
So,
but the point is,
what happened with that game is it was Neo Geo exclusive for a long time. It was Neo Geo AES and MVS, and I think CD exclusive. So you couldn't find it on any other platform for a really long time. There weren't any ports.
Right.
However, they did release it on PS4 eventually.
Okay.
And
so there is hope for a physical then.
Well, here's the thing. There are 2 companies that are releasing SNK games on PS4 right now, so it's actually really confusing. So Code Ninjas is releasing like basically ones that have like online features, so you can play matches and stuff like that. Versions of those games. And then Hamster is publishing the Arcade Archives series. Okay. They are releasing their own versions of these games as well. So you can actually pick which one you want. Which Hamster tends to have the better emulation, but they don't have the netcode. So it's which one you want to pick. But Hamster is releasing their version of Samurai Showdown Special this year, and that will be on Switch, Xbox One, and PS4.
Okay.
So, but I don't think any of the hamster games will ever versions will ever go on physical. I very much doubt that. They've never done that. But I think what is happening with this limited run game is quite possibly being done by Code Monkeys.
I haven't looked up what company they've teamed up with for this. I just know it's an SNK game and they're doing a Neo Geo release, so it's like, oh, what? Oh, actually, before I forget, one other thing about limited run games that really threw me, is that they also very recently released Oddworld Stranger's Wrath. Now, the thing is,
that game's rad. I love that game.
Yeah, that was an Xbox original game. But the thing with this, though, is Limited Run Games has already released Stranger's Wrath a long time ago for, I think it was just for the Vita. But what makes this newer release special is that they released the PS3 disc. So this is their first ever PS3 release, which is just kind of interesting, especially because it's so very much after the PS3's life. It's like, by the way, here's this. Like, oh, okay. So it's interesting that this shows that there's potential for them to do other PS3 games.
Yeah, I think they are. This will be the Code Monkeys version because that's what it's looking like to me. So it's still cool. They haven't released a standalone KOF since except for like the ACA Arcade Archives games. For a while now on PS4. I think the last one that they released was Ultimate 2002.
Okay. And again, the limited run one is 97.
Yeah. So they have updated versions of King of Fighters 98. Well, of course, I keep forgetting to say that 14 is there on there as well, but 2002. 98, and let me see here. What's the other big one that people love? No, it's 2002 and 98. So I'm really hoping that they do this for King of Fighters 11 because that never really got a good port outside of the PS2 version of that. It's never been ported to any other system other than PS2.
Okay.
So I would really like that if they went back to that one eventually. The PS2 version of that added characters too, which is pretty neat. And there are also a couple characters from I believe there's at least one or two characters from Mark of Wolves in there, so that's a popular one.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I saw a bunch of people saying it'd be cool if they released Mark of Wolves via limited run games, because Mark of Wolves hasn't had a physical release since what, like the PS2 or Dreamcast?
Dreamcast, probably. No, the PS2. PS2 got one.
I only seen that on the Steam storefront.
Yeah, Mark of Wolves is on Steam, I think.
Yeah, it's been released on 100 platforms, but like, physically, like I think PS2 is as recent as it gets.
Yeah, Mark of Wolves it has been republished many times. Many times. Yeah, by .emu most recently on PC. Yeah, okay. But I think the last time they did a physical of it was I think is PS2.
Okay.
So this is cool though. I mean, it has the swag, of that shock box, which is pretty neat.
Pretty cool looking. Like that was a bit of nostalgia that I don't think anybody really saw coming. It's kind of like they're also releasing, like they're doing pre-orders for the new Toe Jam and Earl game, Back in the Groove, and the collector's edition is like very true to form. Like the packaging has that crazy 90s, like this is a weird question, but when you play Toe Jam and Earl, you know when you go into the elevator and it's between levels, so it just shows the elevator going up or down with like the crazy funky backgrounds with like shapes just floating around. Like the packaging looks like that. It's like old school Toe Jam and Earl, and the collector's edition also comes with a puzzle that can be put together in different ways. There's not one right way to do it, which I thought was super clever because that's a callback to the levels playing out differently. Like it's like roguelike style of the Genesis game. So that was pretty amusing as well.
I thought this is, you get a bunch of easy presents, and one might contain rocket skates.
Yeah, the presents were something else.
Oh, I have to put this out there. I have to correct myself. It's code Mystics.
Not ninjas or monkeys, mystics.
Yeah, that's that's it. I kept trying to come up with it off the top of my head, but yeah, it's code Mystics. So don't me, bro.
Actually, speaking of adding you, bro, we actually did get a comment about how, like, I still haven't caught up to Corrective, but apparently someone had said, like, Max Payne was made by Rebellion or something. Wasn't it Rockstar? It was Rockstar, wasn't it?
No, Rockstar published the first 2 games and the 3rd game. Rebellion was the one who made it. The first
crazy.
2 games. So
okay.
I was right. You don't at me, man.
Shit.
I know that one for a fact.
I should never have added you.
Don't at me, bro.
Made Max Payne.
Rebellion made Max Payne 1 and 2, and not the 3rd one. Rockstar made that in house.
No, but I mean there's a demo group called the Second Reality, which some members worked on Max Payne.
Oh, okay. Second Reality? Huh.
Cool. All right.
Explain later.
Yeah,
Next.
So what's up?
Next.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.
We should move on. So the next thing, this is big news as well. So I'm a big fan as well as Old Man Stompy, and Dracologist did play this as well to a certain extent. Hollow Knight. I was a big fan of the game, and I had a lot of fun with it. But we heard that there was going to be a big announcement about the Hornet DLC, and boy, was it a big reveal. What ended up happening was they revealed it to be a completely new game, so it's a sequel.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
It takes place in a completely different land from the first game. It looks to be a lot more colorful, but it still has the same charm, it looks like. And you play as Hornet, who is has a completely different way of fighting than the Hollow Knight does. So really cool stuff. Unexpected that it would be this extensive of a release. And really love it. I'm really poised to play this. I was disappointed with the last DLC of Hollow Knight because it was a really difficult boss rush to the point where I didn't even want to try it.
I wanted to say that I know someone on one of the Discord channels who actually beat it.
Oh jeez. I would assume that less than 1% of the people that own Hollow Knight have beaten that. It's that hard. It's that hard.
Well, if it's on Steam, then you could check who got the achievement because it tells you percentage-wise.
I'm sure I could find it, but it would be very low because it's that hard. I beat one of the most difficult challenges in the entire game, which is the Path of Pain, and I had fun doing that, but I never want to do that ever again because it's that hard. I'm done with it. But the challenge of running through that boss gauntlet, and then you can also do an alternate version where you don't get hit at all, and you get an extra little something if you do that. There's no way I'm doing either of those things.
Please don't. This is always so
because fuck that. I mean, come on. The game is already extremely difficult. This is probably I'm going to go out and say it's the most difficult Metroidvania out there. It has to be. I can't think of anything that comes close to it. Ori and the Blind Forest was probably my
Blind Forest is a pretty tame game.
Yeah, but it had some difficult sections, right?
Yeah, but it's more... Well, there are those rush parts where you have to basically do
Yeah,
something.
there are the
perfect.
rush parts, but once you know how to do it, you just kind of execute.
Yes.
It's not like there are tons of enemies and like, oh shit, I gotta fight through them in time. Like, you just kind of like, you need to learn where to go, and you'll die because you don't know.
I guess my point is this one is so miles above any other game in this genre in terms of challenge. It's a very difficult game, and I liked it for its challenge. But then it comes out and does something like that, and and gives you an extra ending for doing it. I'm just not going to. I'm sorry. I will watch the ending on YouTube because screw that. But I am very happy that they decided to make a main campaign full game sequel, which is really 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 cool. I'm really glad, and I will be playing it. So really cool stuff. So let me see here. This was a big debacle. So Dead or Alive 6 had a presentation at Evo Japan that went very wrong on stage. So what they ended up doing was they had two models come up on stage after presenting the game, and while they were setting up the game, I should say rather. And what they did was they emulated the bouncing physics of the game that Dead or Alive is known for, but on stage with real people. And they got very touchy-feely with each other, and it got to the point where one of the models actually had a wardrobe malfunction if you look close enough. The one on the left, the stage left, if you want to check out the clip.
Well,
so
stage left is on the right.
No, it's our left. Not stage left is our left. The audience's left.
Oh, that's what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
That's the point.
Right.
Because like when you come out on stage, right is stage left. Because it is the audience's left.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's stage left. It's left of what the audience is seeing. So she has a wardrobe malfunction, pretty obviously. So, and I don't think it was intentional, but that's how it happened. And their stream got cut off of Twitch by Evo, Evo's president, Wizard, I think his name is. And there was a bit of a backlash from it because there's a lot of people online just saying, "Oh, well, why can we have violence instead of sexy stuff?" But I completely understand why this happened.
It was a whoopsie.
Yeah, first of all, they
not meant to happen.
Yeah, if they had like a couple like good-looking models come out on stage and present it, that would have been fine. But they don't want like a sexually charged thing happening on stage, to the point where it gets pornographic, to representing everything there. That's not the goal. I mean that is a part of the game and certainly a draw of the game, but it's not what Evo is all about. Evo is all about the fight. And it being a good fighting game. So this went way over the top, and it was not something that they wanted. So they actually cut their stream, and they're one of their major partners. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some fallout between Koei Tecmo and Evo because of it. And in some which way, they DOA may not even be an Evo from here on out, which is a huge deal because it's a major fighting game. It's a AAA fighting game. So I think I think they may have done this presentation with Japan in mind as well, because they're less sensitive about this kind of stuff over there, or at least their gaming population is less sensitive about this kind of stuff.
No, they're generally not very sensitive about this thing. They're obviously they're not raised by Christian standards. So
I don't think that's it. I think it's more like women have less of an onus to talk about how men are ogling over there.
Yeah, the United States is quite Puritan in its standards.
But I don't think it's the Puritanism that they were trying to enforce here. What I think they're trying to enforce here is Evo's trying to be more inclusive of women as gamers, and has been for some time, because the fighting game community treats them very terribly. And they've come under fire for being misogynistic in the past. A lot of the organizations have in the fighting game community. So in order for this kind of thing to not be misogynistic, it can't treat women like meat. And so there can be a little sexiness, I think, on both ends, but like not to the point where it's weighed down on one side. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Does what I'm saying make sense to either of you?
I know what happened. I understand what happened.
Mm-hmm.
How the saying goes? Oh, Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame Evo for acting the way that they did, in the slightest. And it seems like Koei Tecmo, hired these people and didn't read the room correctly, or may not have even like double checked what they were going to do on stage.
Well, I'm fairly sure if it was a wardrobe malfunction, it wasn't meant to happen.
Well, the wardrobe malfunction, I'll give a pass to, but you still don't want that. That makes it even worse. This kind of thing, right? So, of course, they'll have to work out this kind of thing in contracts in the future and say, hey, you can't do that kind of stuff on stage while at our event. You can have a good looking costume maybe, or in that kind of thing, and present the game in a sexy light, but you can't be like borderline pornographic or even like basically pornographic at this at our event. So that's one that I'm sure people are going to debate over, and maybe people will say that I'm being namby-pamby about it, but I like sexy booby things as much as the next guy, but I also know when it's appropriate, and it wasn't appropriate here. So I'm in full agreement that it sucks that the violent things get passed, and when sexual things don't, but I think at least with the violent stuff, it doesn't get misogynistic. It doesn't get the misogynistic label. We want more women in the fighting game community and in an environment where they don't get harassed. And if this kind of stuff is promoted, it's going to make them feel like they're not wanted. And we don't want that, by and large. So anyway, this was a big thing. There's Catherine drama going on right now with the
with the new
release. What's it called? The full body edition?
Full body? Yeah, sounds right. Yeah.
Okay.
The puzzle game.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Edge.
So I never played this game when it came out, but a lot of people were pretty big fans of it.
Yeah. So well, here's the thing. There was like one of the endings in Catherine, and I'm talking the original one, like in 2011. There's this one character, like this one woman who's like a waitress or a server or like something like that in the game. She's like a semi-minor character, and one of the endings reveals that she's a trans woman. She used to be a man, and it's kind of played like, whoa, what? Are you kidding me? Did I just kiss like a guy then? Oh my god! And like when that came out, people in America were kind of like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it was played for laughs, like, oh, I kissed a man, rather than like.
So people in America were like, but with the full body expansion coming out like this year, apparently there's, I don't know if it's an extra ending or if an expanded ending.
It's an ending.
There's a third Catherine, right?
Correct. It's the ending to the third Catherine, I believe.
Yeah. So apparently, they do some weird time manipulation or whatever, and manipulate that character to go back to like operation
where a problem
so I think
happened.
the person's
Yeah.
still a guy, and the person ends up being happier that way, and that's like a real slap in the face of trans people everywhere. So now America's like actually mad about it. But the thing is, like, there's two things about this. On one hand, yeah, America really should be mad about it, but on the other hand, calling out Japan for its insensitivity, it's like, you're right, but America's only been sensitive to trans people for like the past 5 minutes itself. So it's not like we're so woke or anything. Like, we do have the moral high ground, but barely. Like, Japan just needs to keep up.
I think a big part of the point is that there are actually a lot of trans fans of this game, and a lot of trans Atlas fans in general.
Yeah, well, the SMT games have had like jabs at like homosexuals and trans people. Well, in this case, in trans people, like, and they kind of keep getting a pass because, damn, I love Persona, but like somebody really needs to like say and do something about this, other than complain on Twitter.
Yeah, and or at least when they localize it, like tell them, hey, we need something alternate here. Oh
yeah.
In order for our audience to accept this. So I guess the debate going around is that the people who made the game like think that the trans person would have been happier not being trans, which is completely antithetical to any trans person that you'll ever talk to. They will say that for a long time they haven't been happy as they were born.
Yeah, like not to mention, even in the even in the original Catherine, it was like, I kissed a guy, when like, no, it's a trans woman. Like, America was pulling that shit like in the 90s. Like, we should be past this.
Yeah, I mean, you would see casual jokes of stuff like that in
like
popular or even popular shows like Friends. Even popular like sitcoms and stuff. I mean, you would find it in movies too. I mean, it happened a lot, and it still happens from time to time. I just think it particularly hit the trans people here because there are a lot of trans gamers in particular.
And even in GDQ, like, there's like a whole bunch of runners who are.
Yeah, there are a lot of trans video gamers, and a lot of them that play Japanese video games, origin video games, and a lot of people that are young are like that as well. There are a lot more young trans people than I think older trans people at this point, because they were raised in a better environment for it, I think.
Well, that may be possible, but I don't know. Like, I mean, I haven't done.
I don't know what the statistics are. I shouldn't.
Well, that's
put
the
my
thing.
foot in
Like,
my
I don't
mouth.
know if there are more trans people. Like, it's the same thing with gay people. Like 10 years ago, are there more gay or trans people now, or are there more just willing to come out,
be public about it? Yeah. No, I can understand that. I guess what my thought is that these people get like ostracized by society all the time. And they don't need a video game to come slap them in the face. That a video game that they could potentially like or look up to come slap them in the face as well.
And even Steins Gate, like, it wasn't malicious, but I felt it was very misguided. There's a whole thing in Steins Gate where like one of the characters lives like a woman, but he's actually a guy. He just like does a really good job as like having you believe he's a woman. So like, it's almost like being trans without actually being trans. Like, he lives his life as a woman, but like it's like, if you check, because that's a thing that happens, like, he's a guy, but there's this one like scene that was played in like a very positive way where like the main character was asking this character like if he was into him, and it turns out he was, and they just kind of like had this whole experience with that, but it still felt weird because I think they were like handling the situation oddly. Like trans people aren't necessarily homosexual, and this person, like, I don't know, like, this person did wish he was a woman, but like, again, they went about it in like, because they were dealing with time travel and they could potentially alter this kind of thing, like, it just felt like a weird touchy subject to address.
Yeah. So I guess the bottom line is Also, there's also a controversy about several people who have this is also leaking out. The game isn't out yet.
No.
I might mention here. So there is a faction of people that say that that have had an early look at it, that say, please don't try not to take this out of context. Please play the game in its context when it comes out. You may have a different opinion.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
So
it's just that this character was handled. Yeah, it's just that the character was handled poorly the first time. So like, I don't have the highest hopes about the second time.
Well, there are more than a few people that have actually played it that are saying like, no, this isn't good. But there are a few people that say, in the context, it's questionable. And people that I would trust. But there's a trans person that I saw that had commented on it, and they were like, no, like I'm done with this. I tried to defend this game when it originally came out, and I'm not for it anymore. So, I mean, make what you will about it, but I'm not going to be supporting something like this.
And it's a shame. It's just like the first game where like the game's great, but like then there's this one thing that just like fucks it off.
Yeah, I mean it's. Yeah, there's some plenty of things from the past that are like this, but you wouldn't think that something so this recent would be like this, But it's one of those things. I think we have run a little late here, so I think we should do our weeklies next episode.
Right, well, one thing I will throw in,
okay,
especially because Dracologist is right here, is this is actually something I would have brought up myself, but Dracologist beat me to the punch in the post. When we were talking about weapons you felt bad about using, Dracologist gave a shout out to the cerebral boar from Turok 2, because that weapon is a fucking nightmare. Do you know that one, Vice?
No.
It's disgusting. Like, it's what it sounds like. It's a gun that shoots like a drill.
Wait, what game is this? I'm sorry.
Turok 2.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, Seeds of Evil. Yeah, it's a gun that shoots a drill that drills into your fucking brain and like makes your head explode. Like that weapon is so bad that if enemies see you holding it, I think even including dinosaurs, they're like nope, and they just run away. Like the weapon's that bad that like the AI doesn't want to deal with it.
Actually, they not run out away when you hold it. They run away when you fire.
When you fire it. Okay, but like this is still a very rare thing in video games, like of this era. Enemies didn't try dodging your shots. But, like, that cerebral board... Nope. Like, get the hell out.
I have another one I can mention. But please do talk about it, Dracologist.
The only reason why they run away because the only weapon that has a very hard tracing. Like,
it doesn't go at bullet speed. It's, like, pretty slow.
But it basically follows you into a mouse hole.
Yeah, and that weapon is just, like, that weapon's too cruel. Like, it's awful. Like, which, it's kind of fun to use for that reason, but it's just like, what kind of sicko designed and manufactured this weapon?
And, like, it actually makes this, like, dental teeth...
Yeah, that high-pitched whine, like, it's just like, no. Like, it's disgusting. What a fucked up weapon.
What I was going to mention is, I really, I thought of this, Destroy All Humans has a very obvious anal probe gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty messed up.
That probes the humans.
If there's anything in Ratchet and Clank that's considered, like, outright cruel.
I know that it's not really cruel, but the right version Hexen is a little bit overpowered. The acid gun from Vilrock is a little bit disgusting because
acid anything is just like
it's not
unspeakable.
Like, melting someone is one thing, but shooting something and causing it to inflate and explode is a little bit gruesome.
Yeah,
it's a
comedy weapon.
That's horrible.
Also, I now that I replay Medieval a little bit. The Celestial Claw is a very metal weapon in that regard. Like, shooting an entire shrunk down planet at someone as
That's
a weapon,
pretty amazing.
projectile.
Although, actually, now that you mention it, shooting an enemy to make them grow and explode, Duke Nukem 3D, later iterations of it had this. The opposite of the shrink ray, there was the sort of growth ray, which, like, it was more like an inflate you to explode ray. Gun. That's right. Thank you. The microwave. Yeah, you would inflate a little bit until you exploded, like that guy in Big Trouble in Little China. It's just like that's a terrible way to go. It's like Hokuto no Ken, like it's like Hokuto Shinken, the gun. Like, don't get shot by this. Yeah.
But we should wrap up unless anybody else has anything else to mention.
That's probably all I can think of. The only that's probably it. I was trying to imagine if there was any kind of gun that shot like a bunch of little things that like devoured enemies, but there's usually more of an environmental trap than like a weapon you
A
control.
piranha gun.
Something like that, yeah.
There was a piranha gun there is a gun in Sirius Sam XXL that fires.
There you go. Then that's something.
Fires a bunch of flesh-eating bugs. Like,
that's
it's
awesome.
Oh, there you go. So that's fucked up.
It's like it's not visually gruesome because it's very simple graphics game, but like it basically.
Well, it's the kind of thing that would cover you and then you're a skeleton or something.
No, the concept is that basically it damages the enemies, and when they die, the bugs continue to they crawl out from the carcass of the enemy and continue.
There you go. Yeah, like only I could see that being like in a cartoon, like where like only the clothes are left or something. It's
How about any of the set pieces
like,
in Mad World or Bulletstorm?
Well, those weapons. Well, I don't know about Bulletstorm, but in Mad Worlds, the weapons aren't inherently cruel. Like, you are just cruel.
Yeah,
like it's just like it's a spike, but you're horrible.
Yeah.
Also, I mentioned that in the game Blood 2, The Chosen, you actually have access to the voodoo doll, which
no!
You can stab people to death, and like you can stab the voodoo doll into the groin, and you have access, and you have actually access to the phantom silver balls or spheres.
Oh,
no,
what?
neat. Yeah.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
I want to watch those movies again, except for the fifth one.
Yeah, the fifth one could go to hell.
Actually, shoot it and it actually grabs people by the face, and then you can hear this. Again, it's not like
the dentist drill.
Not dentist drill, but the sort of this mechanical. And basically, they kind of explode, and kill the enemies. But sadly, the lit tech engine was not that.
I tell you, man, Phantasm 2, that movie is where it's at.
It's legit. I love that movie.
So yeah.
Boy.
Boy. All right. Well, that is the show for this week. We will catch up with our weeklies next week. I don't want to make anybody feel like they were left out for fan reactions and also fan questions. So we'll have to address everything next week. I apologize. We just had so much content to go over this week. So we want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions. Please continue to do so because we will get right back to it next week. And please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting your questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show. And any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays on our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can find me as vysethebold. God, I'm tired. On Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Battle.net, and Switch.
And you can find me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, like Doki Doki Literature Club, getting in on exclusive live streams, currently doing the original Japanese Kingsfield, or finally, or
real solid controls.
I'm losing
on that
track because I'm changing my formula. Getting exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to let's play. Got it, saved it. Or
F5. Oh God.
Yeah, or getting or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord. Then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me on Discord as the Lord of the Crocodile Squirrel, and you can find me on Skype and Steam as Dracologist.
Lovely. Well, we will catch everybody on Tuesday for another episode of Reactive. Catch you then.
Until next time, everyone.
Good night.